We're just 2 weeks away from the next big event in Hong Kong racing, the 4-year-old Classic Series, which culminates with the running of the BMW Hong Kong Derby, the most prestigious race in Hong Kong. No expense has been spared in securing talent from far and wide as owners and trainers look for the next superstar of the sport.
Is a real excitement machine. Nothing I like more from Singapore Sling in the Classic Mile. Nothing I like more can't win, but Singapore Sling careering away with the Classic Cup. Ping High Star tearing away with the Derby. John Size produces a masterpiece with Ping High Star.
Yes, what a win that was by Ping High Star in last year's Derby. John Size has got plenty of talented 4-year-olds a year later on as well too. I'm delighted to say that I've got a couple of experts joining me on the show. First of all, Trenton Akers from the South China Morning Post. Trenton, great to have you on the show. Your first season here in Hong Kong. Welcome along. How are you finding things?
Thanks, Ed. It's great to be here, and yeah, I'm really loving it here in Hong Kong so far. I think the racing has been very competitive, and the show never stops, does it? We've just come out of the International Series last month, and yeah, into the Classic Series now with the 4-year-olds, and I reckon there's some really promising types this year, so it'll make for some really exciting racing, I think.
Absolutely. Big couple of months ahead with the 4-year-old series, the Group 1s, Beauty Generation next week, so there's a lot to look forward to. Yeah,
absolutely, and especially with this 4-year-old series, as you said earlier, the owners have spent no expense in getting some of these horses from all over the world, so it's a bit of a melting pot, and when they come together it makes for very exciting racing here, so it should be very good.
Absolutely, can't wait. Our other expert joins us via Skype. It's Luke Middlebrook, who is the Hong Kong racing editor for iRace. Luke, thank you for joining us as well too. It's the early stages as far as the campaigns for these 4-year-olds are concerned, but from what you've seen so far, what's your assessment of this crop?
Yeah, as Trenton was alluding to, it looks like a really talented bunch, doesn't it? You know, obviously so far the standout probably has been Dark Dream, but we've seen some really good, honest performances from plenty more, and yeah, still plenty of water to flow under the bridge, and I think we've still got the best to come for a lot of them.
Absolutely, a couple of exciting months ahead. Let's have a look at what sort of pecking order they're in at this stage of things from a ratings point of view. Luke, you mentioned that Dark Dream is the standout at this stage of things, and ratings assess that in the same way too. He's on 104, so clear on ratings ahead of Easy Go Easy Win, Furor, Harmony Victory, Super Rich, all on 92. Then Mr. So-and-so, Ka Ying Star, Red Warrior, and down the bottom to Tigra to Test. So they're the main contenders from a ratings point of view. Let's have a look though at some of these lead-up races that we've seen so far. Dark Dream, what he did second up here, pretty impressive to do that. Trenton, you would have seen him in Queensland winning the Derby. He's been quick to make his presence felt here in Hong Kong.
Absolutely, there was a big rap on this horse when he came to Hong Kong, and you're right. He was good on International Day first up. But this run on the soft track was absolutely phenomenal, as you see here under Sylvester de Souza. He just quickened very nicely at the top of the straight, didn't he? And put a big gap on him there. So that's he threw the gauntlet down to the rest of the 4-year-olds there, I think, for especially for the Derby. Definitely.
You mentioned the Derby with him. Luke, when you look at that win, that was over 2,000 metres, apart from his win at Maria, at maiden level, his wins were over a longer. Are we thinking he's a chance for a Classic Mile and a Classic Cup, or more for a Derby?
Yeah, I think probably the Derby is going to be better suited for him. I'm not sure what to expect coming back to the mile. But yeah, it was a really strong win. It was a really fast pace in that race. I think Harmony Victory was sort of a bit found out in that race as well, because he was coming off a really slowly run race where he just produced phenomenal late splits. But that race ran much faster early, and I think he was a little bit found out in the faster early speed Harmony Victory. So it's interesting to see how he bounces back from that run.
Not wanting to be knocking Dark Dream, but is there a slight asterisk on that win because of the soft track?
Well, there could be. You don't know, do you? That's the unknown, and that's what we're going to find out. But he did run well first up on a good track as well, so you never know, do you?
Any knocks at this stage for you, Luke, on Dark Dream, or is he the one that they've got to beat at this point in time?
I think, yeah, from what we've seen at this stage, yeah, he's a clear on top for the Derby at the moment.
We had an important lead-up race last weekend, and that was won by Kaying Star. Let's have a look at that performance. Several 4-year-olds coming through that race. In fact, they filled the first 4 placings. He raced as Urban Aspect, Trenton, in the UK, won 3 from 4. Couldn't have started his Hong Kong campaign much better. He
was very impressive, wasn't he? And I think it took everyone by surprise, his run. And he just he went straight to the front and he just kept it going. But I'm not sure the pace was that strong, and as you'll see, the top 3 over the line were the top 3 for most of the race. So I'd like to see him be challenged before I, really think he's a legitimate Derby chance. But you can't knock it up for a first run in Hong Kong. It was very impressive, and yeah, he done very well. You can't knock what he's been able to do there, Luke. Not easy to come here to Hong Kong, win first up at Class 2 level. But you made some interesting observations on social media after the race about the sectionals. Can you just elaborate on that? And does that affect your overall take form-wise on that race?
Oh, look, it's definitely not easy to just come to Hong Kong and win first up in Class 2, is it? But, dissecting the race, yeah, he got away with murder out on the lead. They ran... They just kept on gradually getting slower and slower. And as you can see, that 800 to 400 metres was a really slow 5.2 lengths below standard time. So it was the epitome of a sit sprint. And, we learned that much about him, that he can sprint sharply off a slow speed. How he performs under a more efficiently run race, I don't know. So it's a guessing game for me at the moment. So we just have to wait and see what happens next time out.
Trenton, you broke the story through the week that Hugh Bowman's booked to ride Furor in the Classic Mile. We saw him in that race there, bring some really strong Australian form. How do you assess he's going at the moment?
I think he's a really strong chance, Furor. He's been hamstrung by 2 bad barriers so far, and he did get across quite well in the last start on the weekend. But if he gets a draw, I think he's a serious horse, Furor, because he's got a bit of go in him and he's got a good engine. So he's going to take a bit of catching. And of course, getting Hugh Bowman on, he's got a really good record here in the Derby. So that will be a massive plus for him. Of course, won it on Werther a couple of years ago. Luke, of those behind Kaying Star heading towards the Classic Mile, the Classic Cup, the Derby, who are you taken by?
Yeah, I agree with Trenton. I think Furore is doing nothing wrong so far. I think we'll see the best of him up in trip. But yeah, he hasn't done anything wrong yet. He's run really 2 really honest races, and yeah, I'm really excited about what he's going to do over further. Who else was there? There was also Easy Go Easy Win in Richmond. Charity Go had he over raced as well. So there were plenty of good runs in behind Kaying Star, but we just have to see what happens. It all just comes down to tempo, doesn't it?
Definitely, that'll be a key heading towards the 3 legs of the Classic Series, and we're still learning the racing patterns of all of these horses too. Let's have a look at Mr. So-and-so. He's won his last 2 in a row. Won this race, beating Super Rich, who's been a bit costly to his last few starts. Interesting comments coming from Connections Trenton. John Size questioning whether Mr. So-and-so's up for the 4-year-old series, and Zach Purton was saying Super Rich had his chance and was a bit disappointing this day.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange race, this one, wasn't it? And just when you think John Size might have uncovered one, he threw a bit of cold water on it, and we know he's not one to rush a horse through its preparation just to try and make the race. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does here with Mr. So-and-so, but he's come on nicely since he's been in Hong Kong. He's improved with every start. So, but that race will be crucial because Super Rich was in that one as well, and I think he's a massive chance, Super Rich. Maybe not in the Derby, but over your shorter ones, your 1600, your 1800, because I know Zach said he was a bit disappointing in that race, but he just looks like a horse that's going to keep on running for a bit further. So I think that'll be a very crucial race.
Luke, how do you assess the likes of Mr. So-and-so and Super Rich? Are they up to the level required?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Derby, but I really thought Mr. So-and-so's win that day was really strong, and as Trenton said, he just keeps on getting better. He won in Class 3, then he went back up to Class 2, and which was that race, and won easily. And was a really strong race. Super Rich, yeah, he just sort of seemed to have lost that early speed a bit. He travelled a bit ungenerously throughout, but he was really strong through the line. And Glorious Spectrum was another one that ran on really well behind that. And he's going to be a bit of a force to be reckoned with in the mile too, I think.
Yeah, I thought the Packing Warrior was another one, fifth in the Prix de Jockey Club, the French Derby. I really liked his performance too. Yeah.
I mean, he was on debut that day and probably got, I think he settled last year, 14th in the running or something like that. But yeah, he was really strong late, and I think there's more upside to come from him.
Okay, we've looked at a few of the key lead-up races. We're still learning, still going to be finding out more. But if I had to pin you down to 5 right now, Trenton, who would be your 5 to follow over the next 2 months for the 4-year-old Classic Series?
Well, we've obviously got Dark Dream, who is the standout. I said Super Rich in there, and I think he's definitely one to follow in there. We've got Helene Leading Star, I think, is a bit of a, not so much a smoky, because he did win a derby in South Australia, but it was over 2,500 metres. So I think he's one for a derby, because he's a dead set stayer, and he need every bit of the 2,000, I think. And then we've got Enrichment, who came out of the last race on the weekend, and he just got caged up a bit there on the fence, and he ran really strongly. So he will be a massive chance, yeah. Yeah,
that was his first run for a few months.
It was, yeah.
He'll improve.
I know Sam Clipton had a massive, gave him a massive rap after the race. He thought he was really strong and really impressed him.
And Helene Leading Star was probably one of those horses in the Carrying Star race that wasn't suited by the stablemate's tempo that he set up front. Yeah,
but if you look back, he was one of the few to actually make a little bit of ground in that race late. So that's why I think that maybe not so much the 1,600 metre, the mile, might be a bit of a trouble for him. But when he steps up to the 2,000 metres, I think he could be a real threat, Helene Leading Star.
Okay, they're Trenton's 5 to follow. What are yours here, Luke?
Yeah, I think I've got the same 2 on top, Dark Dream and Fiore. I think, they sort of pick themselves at the moment from what we've seen. Third one I had Enrichment. I really liked his debut run. I thought that was really strong. And then he was off the scene for a little bit, and as Trenton said as well, he was really good on the last weekend. Obviously unsuited by the pace and all that. I thought Easy Go, Easy Win starting to improve as well, back to sort of what we saw in his early career when he was a 3-year-old. And then the 4th horse is Waikaku, John Sizer's other up-and-comer. It was really interesting. After his last start win, Moreira said that he feels like a Derby horse. So, what more is there to come from him?
Definitely. Leopardstown maiden winner in Ireland, who has had 2 starts. He's looked good in both of those, and you can always have a bit of confidence with John Sizer's horses, and especially when the Magic Man Joe Moreira is on board. It all gets underway then in a couple of weeks' time, the 4-year-old Classic Series with the Hong Kong Classic Mile. In February, we've got the Hong Kong Classic Cup over 1,800 metres, and then the big one, the BMW Hong Kong Derby, worth $18 million in the middle of March. Trent and Luke, great to get your insight. Thanks for joining us on HK Direct this week.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks to Trenton and Luke for joining us this week to look at what we've got ahead of us with the 4-year-old Classic Series. We're racing at Sha Tin on Saturday. The Po Lung Cook 140th Anniversary Cup is the trophy race due off at 3 o'clock. 10-race card, trackside live coverage gets underway at 12:30. A lot of racing on the all-weather track. Really looking forward to the event featuring Fight Hero, who's a possibility of heading to Dubai for the Golden Shaheen on World Cup night. We know that he's travelled well before over to Korea earlier on in the season. HKJC.com and at HKJC_racing is where you can follow us for more information. That's it for this edition of the show. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you join us next week as well too, when we'll be talking all things Beauty Generation ahead of his run in the Stewards Cup and also looking at the Centenary Sprint Cup. But for now, here on HK Direct, it's goodbye.